Your wrists are burning where the cord bites into them. Your arms are pulled behind your back so hard your shoulders feel like they might tear. You're half-dressed, one boot on, the other foot bare against the floorboards, and the cold coming in from the stairwell is sharp enough to make your teeth ache. A hand shoves your head down as you're pushed through your own doorway. The hall light flickers once, like it's tired of witnessing this, and then steadies. You catch a glimpse of your apartment behind you, your table, your chair, the edge of your bed, ordinary objects turned into evidence just by being near you. Your breath comes out in short bursts. Someone grabs your coat off the hook but doesn't give it to you, just yanks it down like even your warmth is confiscated. The building smells like boiled cabbage and coal smoke and damp wool, the smell of people packed into small spaces trying to survive winter. Boots thud on the stairs below, more boots on the stairs above. You are surrounded by movement that does not care if you understand it. You try to lift your head, and the pressure on the back of your neck increases, forcing you down again. You're guided, no, handled like a sack. The corridor is narrow, the plaster cracked, the paint long gone dull. A neighbor's door is cracked open a finger's width, an eye in the darkness watching. Then the door closes softly, carefully, like a lid. Nobody wants to be seen seeing you. Your heart is punching at your ribs. Your mouth is dry, tongue stuck to your teeth. You can taste last night's bread on your breath, and it feels like proof of guilt. The air is too cold and too close at the same time. Your hands start to go numb under the cord. You realize you can't feel your fingertips properly. You force your fingers to move anyway, just to make sure they still exist. Your pulse is loud in your ears. The building creaks as if it's settling, as if it's trying to pretend nothing is happening. This is the moment where your old life tears, not with an explosion, not with a siren, with a door opening at the wrong hour and the sound of boots that don't belong to you. Welcome to this simulation. You're about to be dropped into a real kind of history, slow, cold, and indifferent. If you want to keep going through it, if you want to survive what people survived, subscribe now. Stay close. This isn't entertainment. This is endurance. Now you go back. Back to the hours before the cord on your wrists. Back to the quiet before your name became a target. Back to the room where you still believed the walls were yours. You wake before the sun because the city wakes before the sun. The winter makes the mornings feel heavier, like the dark has weight. Your room is small, warm only where the stove has managed to fight the cold overnight. The rest of the air is stale and cool, and you can smell the sour edge of yesterday's clothes hanging by the door. There's a thin layer of soot on everything, no matter how often you wipe. Coal smoke seeps into the building and settles on your skin and in your throat. You've been coughing more lately, short little coughs you pretend are nothing. The window is sealed with paper and tape, but the cold still finds a way in. It always does. It comes through gaps you didn't know existed. It comes through the floor. It comes through your bones. You lie still for a minute, listening. The building is never truly silent. There are pipes ticking in the walls. Somewhere, someone is moving a pot, metal scraping on metal. A child coughs through a wall, and then a woman hushes them. Far off, you hear the grind of a tram or a truck, the sound muffled by snow. Under it all is the low hum of the city's need, people getting up, washing, finding food, going to work, avoiding mistakes. It's a sound you've learned to read. On ordinary mornings, it's routine. Today, it feels wrong, even before you know why. The air has a tension to it, the kind you can't explain, like the building is holding its breath. You sit up, slow. The bed springs creak, and you stop moving for a second, listening again, the way everyone listens now. Noise draws attention. Attention draws questions. Questions draw consequences. You slip your feet down onto the floorboards and feel the cold immediately, sharp and clean like a blade. Your socks are thin. You flex your toes until they stop stinging. You reach for your trousers and shirt draped on the chair, and the cloth is stiff with last day's sweat, dried and salty. You dress without looking at yourself. Mirrors are a luxury. Confidence is a luxury. You pull your shirt over your head, and your shoulders ache from yesterday's work. Everything aches lately. The aches are your calendar. The stove is almost out. There's a faint orange glow under the iron door, weak and tired. You open it, and a breath of ash and old heat spills out. The smell is bitter and dusty, and it makes you blink. You add a small piece of coal, then another, careful not to waste. Fuel is rationed and counted, like everything else. You coax the flame back to life. It takes time. It always takes time. You wash at the basin with water that bites your hands. The water is cold enough to make your skin burn, and you scrub anyway because being clean is one of the last things you can control. The towel is rough and damp. You dry your face, and your cheeks are already tight from the cold. You look at your hands. The nails are cracked, the knuckles are split. Your hands look older than the rest of you. Your breakfast is what you have. A piece of black bread, dense and sour, and tea so weak it's almost just hot water colored by memory. The bread is hard at the edges. You chew slowly because if you chew slowly, it lasts longer. The tea warms your mouth, but does nothing for your stomach. Hunger is a constant background now, like the pipes in the walls. You don't talk about it, because everyone is hungry. Talking doesn't fill you, it just makes you aware. You stand by the window for a moment and look out through the cloudy glass. Snow has been shoveled into gray piles along the street. People move like they're conserving energy, shoulders hunched, collars up, eyes down. A man with a briefcase walks fast, like speed can keep him safe. A woman carries a bag that looks too light to hold anything worth carrying. The sky is a flat lid of pale gray. No sun, no color. The city looks like it's been rubbed with ash. There are posters on the walls outside, layers on layers, some half torn, some new. Faces, slogans, promises, warnings. You don't read them too long. Reading too long looks like thinking. Thinking looks like doubt. Doubt looks like disloyalty. You have learned to keep your gaze moving.
You have a job. You have papers. You have a place in the system. That is what you tell yourself. That is what you've told yourself every day since the first time someone you knew vanished. First, it was a neighbor. Then a colleague. Then a man at the market who used to joke about prices. One day they were there. Next day they were not. The absence was explained with shrugs or with sudden practiced silence. People stopped saying names. People stopped asking. The city kept moving. You've heard the stories anyway. Everyone hears them. Arrests in the night. Knock at the door. A short process. A signature on a paper you don't get to read. A train going east. A letter that never arrives. Those stories move through buildings like smoke, quiet, unavoidable, getting into everything. You finish your bread, wipe your hands on your trousers, and check your documents like a reflex. They're in the place you always keep them. You touch them just to feel the paper. Paper is protection. It's also a trap. A stamp can save you. A stamp can damn you. You fold them back and put them away. You try to think of something normal. Work, chores, the next ration day, a repair you need to make on the stovepipe. Small thoughts, safe thoughts. But the feeling doesn't leave. It sits in your chest, heavy and quiet. The building hallway smells stronger now. Cabbage, sweat, damp wood. The communal life is always pressing in. You can hear someone arguing 2 floors down, muffled, the words indistinct. You can hear footsteps in the stairwell. That's normal. People come and go. People go to work early. But these steps are different. Heavy, measured, not the quick, tired shuffle of workers. These are boots that have time, boots that don't need to hurry because they decide what happens next. You freeze with your hand on the latch. You don't know why you freeze. You just do. The sound comes again, boot soles against old wood, the slight pause on each landing, the rhythm of men who know exactly where they're going. Your mouth goes dry. You hold your breath, listening, like maybe silence can hide you. Your heart starts to speed up, not from exertion but from animal recognition, the kind of fear that doesn't come from thought. It comes from the body, deep and automatic. You tell yourself it's nothing. You tell yourself you're imagining it. You tell yourself the stairs are shared. Anyone can walk them. The boots stop. There's a pause, and the pause is worse than noise. The pause is intent. Then the knock hits your door. Hard, flat, certain. Not a neighbor, not a polite knock. A knock that says the decision has already been made. Your body moves before your mind catches up. You step back, eyes on the door, and your hands hover uselessly because there is nothing to do with them. You can't run. Run where? You can't hide. Hide how? The apartment is a box. The windows are sealed. Your back is already against the stove without meaning to. The room suddenly feels too small, too warm, too full of your own breath. The knock comes again, and you feel it through the floorboards, through the walls. You swallow, and your throat clicks. A third knock. The wood trembles. Dust shakes loose from the frame.
You think of your papers. You think of your name written down somewhere. You think of a file folder with your face on it. You think of someone pointing at a line of text. You think of mistakes you might have made without knowing they were mistakes. You think of a sentence you said 2 years ago. You think of a joke someone else told. You think of being seen talking to the wrong person. You think of a coworker's eyes sliding away from yours last week, too quickly. You think of the way people have been careful around you lately, like they're making room for something. Your hand goes to the latch because there is no other move left. You open the door. The hall light is dim and yellow, and it makes the faces outside look drained. Coats, caps, hard eyes, a smell of cold air and leather and wet wool. The men outside are not rushing. They don't need to. They stand in the narrow hallway like it belongs to them. Their presence fills the space. The closest one looks past you into your room as if you're not there at all, as if your life is already a place to search. Behind them, the stairs drop into darkness. Above them, the stairs climb into darkness. The building feels like a throat closing. You try to speak, but your tongue feels thick. Your lips are numb. Your breath fogs in the doorway. You can feel the heat of your stove behind you and the cold of the hallway in front of you, and you stand between them like a thin barrier. A hand moves, fast, practiced, and you are turned, pushed back into your room. Boots cross your threshold. The men enter without hesitation. The apartment that held your smell, your sweat, your food, your sleep, your tiny private world is invaded in seconds. Drawers open. Papers lift. The mattress is pressed. The stove is inspected. Nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical, just efficient taking. You watch your possessions become suspicious objects. A book becomes dangerous because it's a book. A photograph becomes dangerous because it's a photograph. A letter becomes dangerous because it's a letter. Ordinary things turn sharp under their attention. You realize they can make a crime out of anything if they want, and you realize they do want. Your mind tries to keep up, scrambling for logic. You want to explain. You want to prove you belong. You want to show them your work papers, your stamps, your receipts, your obedience. You want to say you've done everything required, but nothing you have prepared matters, because preparation is only useful against accidents, and this is not an accident. Your arms are taken behind your back. The cord bites in, not gently. It's tightened until it hurts. Your shoulders pull. You gasp. But men move you like your furniture being rearranged. Your coat is ripped off the hook. It's held for a moment and then set aside as if it's optional whether you get it. Your body goes cold quickly, the warmth leaving your skin like it's been drained. You are marched to the door. Your feet stumble on the threshold. One boot is on, one foot is bare. The bare foot hits the hallway floor and the cold is immediate and brutal, like stepping onto metal. Your toes curl, your skin goes tight. You try not to wince, you try not to show weakness. Weakness is a language they understand too well.
As you're pushed out, you see that neighbor's door again, closed now. You know someone is behind it, holding their breath. You understand them. You hate them. You forgive them. All at once. Because you are learning the rule that will govern everything from here. Survival is individual.
and it is ugly. The stairwell opens in front of you. It smells of damp wood and old smoke. It feels colder with every step down. Your breath turns ragged. Your wrists throb. Your mind keeps trying to rewind, to find the moment you could have avoided this, but there is no clean moment. There is only a slow build-up you ignored because you had to keep living. Outside, the air hits you like a slap. It's dark. The sky is still heavy with night. The street is quiet, but not asleep. A vehicle waits at the curb, engine idling low. Snow crunches under boots. The cold crawls up your bare foot into your calf, then into your whole body. You taste metal in your mouth. Your heart hammers. Your thoughts scatter. You're not thinking about Siberia yet. You're not thinking about camps or trains or fences. You're thinking about your room, your stove, your bread, your papers, because your mind is clinging to the last solid thing it can grab. But the street is already pulling you away. The men hold your arms. The vehicle door opens. The dark inside looks like a mouth. And as you are pushed toward it, you understand the shape of what's happening, even if you don't know the full length of it. You understand that the knock was not just a sound. It was a beginning. Your head is still buzzing from the cold and the pressure of hands on your arms when the door of the vehicle slams shut. The sound is final, thick metal on metal, sealing you inside darkness that smells of oil, wet wool, and old fear. You stumble as the engine lurches forward. There's no seat meant for you, just a hard bench along the wall. Your bare foot presses against the floor and you pull it back instinctively, but there is nowhere warm to put it. The cold seeps in through the steel, steady and patient. The cord on your wrists tightens every time the vehicle hits a bump, cutting into skin already numb. You try to adjust your position and realize how little room you have to move. You hunch forward, shoulders burning, breath shallow. The city outside fades into vibration and noise you can't place. You are moving, and you have no say in the direction. Time stretches almost immediately. The ride feels longer than it can possibly be. You count turns, you count stops, you lose count. Your thoughts drift and snap back sharply, like something pulling on a leash inside your skull. Every sound makes your muscles tense. A cough from somewhere in the compartment makes you flinch before you realize it's not yours. You're not alone. Shapes sit or stand around you, bodies pressed into the same confined space, breathing the same stale air. No one speaks. Silence is enforced without words. You learn quickly that silence is not peace, it's containment. The vehicle slows, the engine idles. A door opens somewhere else, letting in a blade of colder air and a wash of noise, boots, commands, metal clanging. Then your door opens too, and hands grab you again. You're pulled out into light that's too bright for your eyes.
Snow reflects it upward, bleaching the world. You blink hard, eyes watering instantly. Your foot hits the ground and pain shoots up your leg, sharp enough to make your knees buckle. You're held upright anyway. There's no falling allowed. The building in front of you is low, wide, and grim. No ornament, no sign meant to welcome, just concrete and barred windows glowing faintly from inside. You smell disinfectant, cold stone, and something underneath it all, human waste, old sweat, sickness that never fully leaves. This is not a place meant for long stays, but it is not meant for comfort either. It's meant to erase the idea of comfort quickly. You're pushed through heavy doors. Inside, the air is warmer, but not warm. It's the kind of heat that doesn't soothe, just keeps you alive. The walls are bare, painted a dull color that might once have been white. It's peeling in long strips, revealing darker layers beneath. The floor is wet in places, slick with melted snow and something else you don't want to identify. Your foot slips and your heart jumps, but hands clamp down harder, correcting you like an object that almost broke. You're brought into a room that feels too large and too small at the same time. A corridor branches off into others, all identical, all leading somewhere you can't see. People are being moved through it in lines, single file, heads down. You're cut into one of those lines without explanation. The cord is removed from your wrists, but only because metal cuffs replace it. The cold bite of iron closes around your bones. You flex your fingers automatically and feel how swollen they already are. The skin around the cuffs is red and angry. You wait. Waiting becomes the first real lesson. There is nothing to do but stand and feel your body exist under stress. Your shoulders throb, your bare foot burns and aches, the pain deepening as numbness creeps in around it. Your stomach growls once, loudly, then quiets as if ashamed. Hunger doesn't leave, it just changes tone. The lights hum overhead. The sound drills into your skull slowly, relentlessly. Eventually, you're moved again. A desk, papers, hands pointing. You're positioned in front of someone who doesn't look at you right away. You stare at the wall behind them instead. It has stains you can't make sense of, handprints, streaks, scratches low near the floor. You wonder how long it took for those to appear. You wonder if you'll add to them. Your name is taken from you, not physically, but functionally. It's written down, checked against something you don't see. Your date of birth, your place of work, details of your life reduced to marks on paper. You answer when required. You keep your voice flat. You don't volunteer anything. You're aware of every word leaving your mouth like it might be weighed later. Silence feels safer, but silence can also be read as defiance. You walk a narrow line without knowing where the edges are. Your belongings are taken, pockets emptied, papers examined. Anything personal is stripped away with quick, practiced movements. Your coat is finally tossed toward you, but you're not allowed to put it on yet. It lands on the floor at your feet, a cruel tease. You look at it longer than you should, and someone notices. A hand pushes your shoulder, redirecting your gaze forward. You learn quickly where not to look. You're led down another corridor. This one smells worse. The air is thick and damp, like breath has been trapped here too long. Doors line the walls, metal with small slots at eye level. Some slots are open. You catch glimpses inside. Bare rooms, concrete benches, figures hunched or standing, waiting just like you were waiting. Some faces look blank, some look sharp with panic, some don't react at all, as if whatever made them human has retreated somewhere deep. You're put into a room alone. The door shuts behind you with a heavy sound that vibrates in your chest. The space is small, concrete on all sides. There's a bench built into the wall, cold and damp, a bucket in the corner. The light is always on. It buzzes faintly, never letting you forget it's there. The temperature is just above freezing, enough to keep you conscious, not enough to let you relax. You sit because standing hurts too much. The bench steals heat from your body immediately. Your foot throbs in steady pulses now, pain synchronized with your heartbeat. You pull your coat around your shoulders as best you can with cuffed hands. It helps, barely. You shift and the cuffs bite again. There is no comfortable position. You realize that comfort has been designed out of this place deliberately. Time loses shape. You don't know how long you sit there. Minutes stretch, hours compress. Your thoughts drift and circle. You replay the knock. You replay opening the door. You replay ordinary moments from yesterday. Your bread, your stove, the window. They feel unreal already, like stories you heard about someone else. You try to hold on to details so they don't slip away. The grain of the table, the crack in the wall near the window. You repeat them like a list, afraid that if you stop, the past will collapse entirely. You're taken out again without warning. The sudden movement makes you dizzy. Your legs feel weak, unreliable. You're marched down corridors, up and down stairs. The building is a maze meant to disorient. You pass other detainees, close enough to smell them. Unwashed bodies, fear sweat, sickness.
Eyes flick toward you and away quickly. No one wants to recognize anyone else. Recognition creates connection. Connection creates risk. You're brought into another room. This one is colder. There's a table, a chair bolted to the floor. You're positioned in front of it. The cuffs are removed, replaced with something worse. Your hands are forced onto the tabletop, fingers spread, palms down. Your shoulders scream in protest. You grit your teeth and breathe through your nose. The room smells of metal and old smoke. There's a dampness in the air that clings to your skin. You are questioned, not like a conversation, like a process. The words come at you from somewhere in front of you, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Accusations dressed as questions, questions dressed as statements. Your answers feel clumsy, insufficient. You can't tell what's wanted. You can't tell what will make it stop. Your mouth goes dry again. You swallow repeatedly, trying to keep your voice steady. At some point, exhaustion dulls the edge of fear. Your body can only hold so much tension before something gives. Your thoughts slow. Your responses become automatic. You realize this is part of it. Wear you down. Strip away resistance, not with one blow, but with repetition and time. You feel yourself shrinking inward, conserving energy the way you would in extreme cold.
Eventually, you're let out again, back through corridors, back past doors, back into waiting. You're fingerprinted. The ink is cold and sticky. Your fingers are pressed and rolled without care. Each print feels like another small theft, another way your body is being cataloged. You're given a number. It's said once, quickly. You repeat it in your head immediately, afraid to lose it. Your name feels distant now. The number feels heavy, permanent. It's easier to remember than your own reflection, which you haven't seen since this began. Night comes, or maybe it doesn't. There are no windows where you end up. The light never changes. You're placed in a larger cell now, with others, bodies packed onto benches, onto the floor. The smell is overwhelming. Sweat, waste, fear, damp clothing. The heat from so many people makes the air thick and hard to breathe, even as the cold gnaws at your extremities. You wedge yourself into a corner because corners feel safer. Your back presses against concrete slick with condensation. No one speaks much. A few whispers die quickly. Someone coughs, deep and wet. Someone else shivers violently. You pull your coat tighter, tuck your bare foot under your other leg, trying to share warmth with yourself. It helps only a little. Your stomach cramps. Hunger returns, sharp and insistent now that the adrenaline has faded. You don't sleep. You drift in and out of something like unconsciousness, head lolling, body jerking awake every time it starts to relax. Every sound feels like it could mean movement, selection, removal. You learn to rest without resting, to be still without being calm. At some point, you realize something fundamental has changed. You're no longer waiting to go home. That idea has slipped away quietly, without ceremony. You don't know where this ends, but you know it doesn't end soon. The corridor you're in now isn't just a hallway, it's a filter, a narrowing. People go in, fewer come out. As your head rests against the wall, cold seeping through your coat, one thought settles in with frightening clarity. This place is not the punishment, it's the doorway, and you are only just beginning to walk through it. The first thing you notice is the smell. It hits you before you fully understand where you are being taken. Old wood soaked with urine, metal rust, unwashed bodies, and the sour, choking residue of fear that never had time to dissipate. The corridor opens out into a rail yard swallowed by winter. Snow is packed hard underfoot, blackened by coal dust and footprints. Floodlights throw harsh cones of light across the ground, bleaching faces and turning shadows into long, jagged shapes that stretch and overlap. The cold is immediate and absolute. It crawls up your legs, clamps onto your lungs, and settles there as if it plans to stay. You're herded forward with the others, pushed into lines that barely hold their shape. People stumble. Someone falls and is yanked back upright without ceremony. You're exhausted already, though you don't know how much time has passed since your door was broken open. Your sense of hours has dissolved. All you know is movement and waiting, waiting and movement. Your stomach aches with a hollow, twisting pain. Your head feels light, disconnected, like it's floating a few inches above your shoulders.
The train cars loom ahead of you. They're not passenger cars, they're boxcars. Thick wooden walls reinforced with metal. Sliding doors scarred and dented. No windows, or only tiny slits high up crusted with frost. You recognize them instantly, even if you've never seen them up close before. Everyone knows these cars. You've heard about them in half-finished sentences and quiet warnings. You've imagined them, but imagination didn't give them a smell. Imagination didn't give them weight. The door of the nearest car is slid open. Darkness spills out, heavy and wet. You can hear sounds from inside, shuffling, coughing, a low murmur that cuts off abruptly as guards shout. You're pushed closer. Your feet slide on the icy ground and you barely catch yourself. Your muscles tremble, partly from cold, partly from fear, partly from fatigue so deep it feels structural. Hands grab you from behind and you're lifted, shoved, packed forward. There's no stepping up with dignity. You're thrown inside, stumbling over bodies already there. Someone's elbow slams into your ribs, someone else curses under their breath. You regain your balance by grabbing at a wall slick with condensation. The door slams shut behind you with a thunderous crash that echoes through the car and into your chest. The sound is final in a way nothing else has been. Inside, the darkness is almost complete. There's a faint gray light leaking in from a narrow slit near the ceiling, but it does nothing to define faces clearly. The space is packed. People stand pressed shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip. There is no room to sit, barely room to breathe. The air is instantly thick, already warm from bodies, already stale. You can smell sweat blooming despite the cold, the sharp tang of fear, the sourness of unwashed clothes soaked through from days of wear. The train lurches without warning. A jolt throws everyone sideways and a wave of bodies sways together, crashing back into the walls. Someone groans. Someone else cries out in pain and then clamps their mouth shut, as if sound itself is dangerous. You brace your feet as best you can, knees bent, trying to absorb the movement. Your bare foot screams in protest as it presses against the frozen floorboards. The pain is sharp, electric. You grit your teeth and breathe through it. The train begins to move. At first, you try to keep track. You tell yourself you'll remember the turns, the stops, the direction. East, you know it's east. Everyone knows what east means. You listen to the rhythm of the wheels on the tracks, counting beats, imagining distance. But the motion is relentless. The sound becomes a constant roar, a grinding that seeps into your skull and drowns out thought. The darkness makes time slippery. Minutes stretch, hours collapse. You stop counting without noticing when. The cold behaves strangely inside the car. Near the walls it bites hard, stealing heat from your skin wherever you touch. In the center, the press of bodies creates a damp, suffocating warmth that makes sweat bead on your forehead and trickle down your spine. The contrast is brutal. Your extremities ache with cold while your core overheats. Your clothes cling to you, damp and uncomfortable. The smell intensifies as the hours pass. There's nowhere for it to go. Someone near you begins to cough, deep and racking. Each cough shakes their whole body. You feel it through the press of bodies like a tremor. Another person mutters something you can't quite hear, words tumbling out without structure. You realize they might be praying, or bargaining, or simply talking to stay anchored to something familiar. You don't look at them. Looking feels intimate. Intimacy feels dangerous. Your mouth is dry. Your tongue feels swollen. You swallow again and again, but there's no moisture to draw on. Your lips crack. Hunger sharpens into something more aggressive, a gnawing pain that twists and pulses. You try to think of food, bread, soup, anything, but the images make it worse.
Your stomach clenches like it's trying to consume itself. At some point, a bucket is shoved through the press of bodies. There's no ceremony, no explanation. It's just there, a necessity made ugly by proximity and lack of choice. People avert their eyes. Some turn their faces to the wall. The smell becomes unbearable for a while, then settles into the background like everything else. You learn quickly how adaptable you are, and that knowledge unsettles you more than the discomfort. Sleep comes in fragments, if it comes at all. You doze standing up, head dropping forward until a sudden shift in the train jerks you awake. Your neck aches, your legs tremble from holding your weight for so long. Every muscle feels overworked and underfed. You dream in flashes, warmth, light, a room with a table, and wake with a sharp sense of loss that takes a moment to place. Days pass, or maybe it's nights. There's no way to tell. Occasionally the train slows or stops. Each time hope stirs involuntarily. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the end of the journey. But the doors don't open. Or they open only briefly, letting in a blast of freezing air that steals your breath and makes your skin prickle painfully before slamming shut again. Sometimes guards shout from outside. Sometimes you hear other trains moving nearby, metal screaming against metal. The world exists somewhere beyond these walls, but it feels distant and unreachable. People begin to change, faces hollow, eyes dull or burn too brightly. Someone near you starts to talk about home, about a garden, about a dog they used to have. The details are too vivid, too specific. You realize they're clinging to memory like a lifeline. Another person snaps at them to be quiet, voice sharp with panic. A small argument flares and dies quickly, smothered by exhaustion and fear. There's no energy for sustained conflict. Survival takes everything. The cold worsens as the train moves farther east. You feel it even through the mass of bodies. It creeps in through the floor, through the walls, through the cracks you didn't know existed. Your bare foot has gone from pain to numbness and back again several times. Each cycle feels worse than the last. You worry about it without quite forming the thought fully, because thinking about damage makes it feel more real. Hallucinations begin subtly. At first, it's just sounds. Your name whispered from somewhere in the car, so faint you're not sure you heard it. Then it's sensations. A sudden feeling of warmth on your hands, so convincing you almost smile, before it vanishes and leaves your fingers aching worse than before. You blink hard, shake your head slightly. You tell yourself it's just fatigue, just hunger, just cold.
But the images creep in anyway. You see sunlight spilling through a window that isn't there. You smell soup that no one else seems to notice. For a terrifying moment, you feel calm, almost content, and then the illusion shatters and panic floods in to replace it. You understand, dimly, that your mind is trying to protect itself. You also understand how dangerous that can be. Someone collapses near the wall. There's a ripple of movement as people try to make space, but there is none to give. The person slides down, ends up sitting awkwardly, head lolling forward. They don't get back up. At first, you assume they're sleeping. People sleep like that now, wherever they can. But hours pass and they don't move. Eventually, someone nudges them with a foot. No response. The body stays where it is, held upright by the pressure of others. Death is quiet here. It doesn't announce itself. You feel a strange detachment as you register this. A part of you notes it clinically, like information to be stored. Another part recoils, horrified. You feel guilty for both reactions. You feel guilty for feeling anything at all. When the train finally stops for longer than usual, the silence is almost as loud as the movement had been. The grinding roar fades, leaving a ringing void. You realize how much the sound had been filling your head, keeping certain thoughts at bay. The door slides open and cold air floods in, violent and sharp. It steals your breath completely. You gasp, lungs seizing. Snowflakes swirl in the harsh light outside, glittering briefly before settling on the floor inside the car. You're blinded for a moment by the brightness. Shapes move outside, figures in heavy coats, steam rising from their mouths. Commands are shouted. You don't understand all the words, but you understand the tone. Movement surges. You're pushed toward the opening, stumbling over the threshold. Your bare foot hits snow, and the shock is so intense you almost scream. It feels like fire and knives all at once. You're out of the car now, standing on a platform in a landscape that feels unreal in its vastness. Snow stretches out in every direction, broken only by dark lines of forest and low, squat buildings in the distance. The sky is pale and enormous. The cold here is different, cleaner, deeper, more absolute. It doesn't just touch you, it claims you. You look back at the train, at the dark mouths of the boxcars, and you realize with a sinking clarity that this was only a passage, not the destination, not even close. As you're herded forward again, legs shaking, lungs burning, one thought takes hold and refuses to let go. Whatever this place is, it required the train to strip you down first, to hunger, to exhaustion, to numbness, so that when you arrived, you would already be weakened. And as the wind cuts through your clothes and the snow crunches under your feet, you understand that the journey was not meant to bring you somewhere. It was meant to empty you out before you got there.
You are still shaking from the cold of the platform when they push you forward again. There is no pause to let your eyes adjust, no time to orient yourself. The train behind you exhales steam like a living thing, then begins to fade from your attention as the line of bodies moves away from it. Snow crunches under your feet, loud in the open air. The sound feels exposed, like it can be heard for miles. Your breath comes out in short, harsh clouds. Each inhale burns. Each exhale feels wasted, heat leaving your body faster than you can afford. The land around you is wide and empty in a way you've never experienced. Not peaceful, not beautiful. Empty, like something abandoned by intention. Dark trees stand at the edge of the clearing, tall and tightly packed, their branches heavy with snow. They don't move much in the wind. They just wait. The sky is pale and low, pressing down on everything. It feels close enough to touch, like a lid about to snap shut. You walk because the line moves. That's the only reason. Your legs feel unreliable, like they belong to someone else. Your bare foot is a block of pain and numbness that pulses dully with each step. You don't look down anymore. Looking down makes it worse. You keep your eyes on the back of the person in front of you, on the dark patch of their coat, on the way their shoulders hunch against the cold. That becomes your world. That and the sound of breathing all around you, ragged, uneven, desperate to stay steady. The buildings ahead come into focus slowly. Low barracks made of rough wood, watchtowers rising above them, angular and sharp, with small dark windows near the top. Barbed wire stretches between posts, looping and snarling in the snow. It's not a single fence, it's layers, lines behind lines. Each one feels like a decision that's already been made for you. You realize something then, with a strange, calm clarity. This place is not temporary. Nothing about it suggests movement or transition. It's built to last through winters like this, through many winters. The thought lands heavy in your chest. You swallow hard, but your throat is too dry to help. As you're herded closer, the smell hits you. Smoke, heavy and constant, mixed with something sour and organic. Latrines, unwashed bodies, rot. It's the smell of too many people living too close together with too little. It clings to your clothes immediately, seeps into your nose and throat. You cough once and regret it, as the cold air tears at your lungs. Guards line the path, faces mostly hidden under hats and scarves. Their eyes are visible, though. Flat. Watchful. You don't look at them directly for long. You've already learned that looking too much is noticed. Looking too little is also noticed. You try to keep your gaze neutral, unfocused, as if you're barely present in your own body. The gate looms ahead. Thick wooden doors reinforced with iron, already scarred and splintered from years of use. The barbed wire curves inward at the top, like claws. You pass beneath it and feel something inside you tighten. Not fear exactly, finality. Inside the camp, everything feels smaller, despite the open space. The buildings are packed tightly together. Paths are worn into the snow and mud by constant traffic. You see men moving between barracks, their movements slow and economical, no wasted motion. Their clothes hang loose on them, oversized and mismatched. Some wear hats pulled low. Some have bandages wrapped around hands or faces. No one looks healthy. No one looks surprised to see you.
You're marched to an open area where more people are gathered, new arrivals like you. The line dissolves into a cluster, then reforms again under shouted orders. The noise is sharp and sudden, cutting through the wind. Your shoulders tense automatically. You're learning a new rhythm already. Move, stop, don't ask. You stand there for a long time. The cold works its way deeper into your body, past skin and muscle into joints and bone. Your toes feel like they're filled with glass. Your fingers ache, even inside your sleeves. You try to keep blood moving by shifting your weight slightly, flexing muscles when you can, but every movement costs energy you don't have much of. Eventually, you're brought forward in small groups. Names, or rather numbers, are called. You step when yours is shouted, heart jumping even though you knew it was coming. You're positioned in front of a rough table set up outdoors, papers flapping slightly in the wind. A man behind it glances at you briefly, then looks back down. You are an entry to be processed, nothing more. You're told where you are, though not in words meant to explain. The name of the camp is spoken once, flat and official. It doesn't mean much to you yet. It will. You're told the rules in broad strokes. Work, obedience, silence. Punishment is implied without needing detail. You understand enough. Your clothes are taken, all of them. You stand exposed in the cold while they're sorted, inspected, discarded, or piled away. The air against your skin is brutal. Your body reacts instantly, goosebumps rising, muscles locking, breath hitching. You wrap your arms around yourself, but it doesn't help. Humiliation burns almost as sharply as the cold. You keep your eyes down. You don't know where to look. You're given replacements, a thin shirt, rough trousers, a jacket that smells like someone else's sweat and smoke, boots that are too big, lined with something stiff and damp. You force your numb foot into one of them and bite down hard to keep from crying out. The boot rubs against skin that already feels wrong, half alive. You focus on the task, on getting dressed, on finishing this step so you can move on. Your hair is cut quickly, brutally. Clippers buzz against your scalp, tugging. Locks fall to the ground and disappear into the snow. You feel lighter and colder at the same time. Another small stripping away, another way of making you look like everyone else. You're given a scrap of fabric with a number on it. You're shown where it goes on your jacket. The number feels heavier than it should. You attach it with stiff fingers, fumbling because of the cold. When it's done, you touch it briefly, like confirming it's real. You don't recognize yourself in this form. You don't think you're supposed to. You're led away from the processing area and toward a barrack. The building is long and low, its windows small and rimmed with ice. Smoke leaks from a crooked chimney. The door creaks open and a wave of heat and stench washes over you.
It's overwhelming after the cold outside. Your head swims.
Inside, the air is thick and damp. The heat comes from a stove in the center, glowing faintly, but it's not enough for the number of bodies packed around it. Bunks line the walls, stacked 3 high, made of rough planks. Men sit or lie on them, wrapped in blankets, coughing, murmuring. Heads turn as you enter, eyes flick over you, assessing. Not curious, calculating. You're shown a bunk, middle level. You climb up awkwardly, boots slipping on the wood. The plank digs into your palms. You sit and immediately feel how hard it is, how unforgiving. There's no mattress, just a thin layer of something that might once have been straw, now flattened and stale. You shift, trying to find a position that doesn't send pain shooting through your foot. There isn't one. Someone near you shifts too, making room without speaking. You nod slightly, an instinctive gesture of thanks. It feels strange, almost dangerous, to acknowledge another person. But the acknowledgement is returned with a brief glance, nothing more. That's all there is energy for. You sit there, catching your breath, listening. The sounds of the barracks settle into a pattern. Coughing, murmured curses, the crackle of the stove, the wind rattling the walls. Your body starts to shiver uncontrollably now that you've stopped moving. The shivering feels deep, like it's coming from somewhere you can't reach. A metal bowl is passed down the line. Thin soup sloshes inside it, grayish and steaming faintly. When it reaches you, your hands shake as you take it. The smell is weak, barely there, but your stomach clenches violently at the sight. You sip carefully, afraid to spill any. The liquid is hot enough to burn your tongue slightly, and you welcome the pain. It feels grounding. There are bits floating in it, something vegetable maybe. You don't question it. You drink it all. The warmth fades quickly, leaving behind a hollow craving that feels worse than before, but the edge is dulled just enough to let your thoughts slow. Exhaustion crashes over you in a heavy wave. Your eyelids feel thick. Your head nods despite your effort to stay alert. You lie down on the bunk, curling slightly to protect your foot. The wood is cold, even through your clothes. You pull your jacket tight and try to make yourself smaller. Around you, bodies shift and settle. Someone groans softly in their sleep. Someone else mutters, voice slurred with fever or dreams. As you stare at the underside of the bunk above you, the reality of where you are finally sinks in. Not as panic. Panic would take too much energy. It sinks in as a dull, pressing weight. You are here. This place exists, and it is built to keep you. You think of the train, already distant in your memory. You think of the city, the apartment, the stove. Those images feel thin now, like paper held up to light. You don't know how long you'll be here. You don't know what work they'll give you. You don't know what winter will do to you once it really sets in. What you do know is this. The journey didn't end when the train stopped. It ended when you crossed the wire. Everything after this is not travel. It is survival. Morning does not arrive so much as it intrudes. There is no sunrise to mark it, no gentle shift of light. The barracks simply jolts awake with noise. A shout cuts through the air, sharp and practiced, followed by the clatter of boots on frozen ground outside. Your eyes open before you're ready. Your body feels heavy, unresponsive, like it's been filled with sand. For a moment, you don't know where you are. Then the smell hits you again. Smoke, sweat, damp wood, and the memory settles in like a bruise being pressed. You try to move and pain flares instantly. Your foot throbs, a deep, angry ache that pulses in time with your heartbeat. Your joints are stiff, reluctant. The cold has crept into you overnight, despite the press of bodies and the weak heat of the stove. You swing your legs over the side of the bunk, and your boots hit the floor with a dull thud. Your hands shake as you lace them, fingers clumsy and slow. Around you, men are doing the same, faces slack with exhaustion, movements automatic. No one speaks much. There's no point. Outside, the cold is worse. It feels sharper in daylight, more intentional. The air slices into your lungs, making each breath an effort. You fall into line because everyone else does. You stand shoulder to shoulder, eyes forward, steam rising from mouths like smoke from small fires struggling to stay lit. The guards move along the line, counting, watching. Their presence is constant, a pressure you can feel even when they're not looking directly at you. You are marched to food. The word feels generous for what you receive.
A ladle of thin gruel, barely warm, poured into a metal bowl. A piece of bread that's more air than substance. You eat standing up because there's nowhere to sit and no time to linger. The gruel tastes of water and something vaguely grain-like. It does nothing to satisfy you, but you swallow it carefully anyway. Every calorie matters now. You lick the bowl without thinking, scraping the metal with your tongue until it's clean. You don't look around while you do it. You don't want to see if anyone noticed. Work assignments come quickly after. Names aren't used. Numbers are called. Yours echoes in your head when you hear it, louder than the others. You step forward, heart thudding, and are directed toward a group heading away from the barracks, toward the forest. You already know what that means. Everyone does. The trees loom dark and endless at the edge of the camp, a wall of wood and shadow. They look closer now than they did yesterday. The walk to the worksite is long enough to drain what little warmth you gained from the gruel. Snow crunches underfoot, sometimes giving way to mud or ice. You slip once and catch yourself just in time, heart hammering. Falling feels dangerous here in a way you can't fully articulate. You sense that once you're down, staying down becomes an option you might not be allowed to refuse. Axes are handed out, heavy, worn, smooth by countless hands before yours. You grip the handle and feel how unfamiliar it is, how much effort it will take just to lift it. Your shoulders already ache at the thought. You're shown where to stand, which tree to work on. There's no instruction beyond that. You're expected to know what to do, or to learn quickly by watching others. The guards step back, rifles slung casually, eyes scanning. The work begins.
The first swing sends a shock up your arms and into your spine. The impact jars your teeth. You adjust your stance and swing again. The sound of metal biting into frozen wood rings out, sharp and loud. Chips fly. Your breath fogs heavily in front of you. After a few swings, your arms start to burn. Muscles you don't usually think about protest immediately. You keep going. Stopping isn't an option you consider. Not yet. Time stretches again, the way it did on the train. Swing, breathe. Swing, breathe. Your hands blister quickly under the rough handle, skin tearing despite the cold. The pain is immediate, bright, but it fades into a background throb as repetition takes over. Sweat builds under your jacket, dampening your shirt. The moment you pause, the sweat chills, making you shiver violently. You learn to keep moving just to stay warm, even as movement drains you. Around you, others work in silence or with minimal sound, grunts, heavy breathing, the occasional cough. No one talks. Talking costs energy. Energy is rationed more strictly than food. You notice how thin everyone is now, how hollow their faces look in the stark daylight. You wonder how long they've been here. You wonder how long you will last. At some point, you realize you can't feel your toes properly anymore. The sensation has dulled to a vague pressure, as if they belong to someone else. You wiggle them inside your boots without looking. They respond slowly. Panic flickers at the edge of your mind, but you push it away. Panic won't help. Panic burns energy. You focus on the next swing, just one more, then another. When the tree finally creaks and begins to fall, there's a brief surge of something like satisfaction. It's small and fleeting, but it's there. You step back as it crashes into the snow, sending up a cloud of white. For a moment, the forest is louder than the camp. Then the sound fades, and you're directed to the next tree. The day grinds on like this. There is no clear break, no signal that marks progress. Your stomach knots painfully by midday, hunger sharpening into something almost unbearable. You feel lightheaded when you stand too quickly. Your vision darkens at the edges now and then. You blink hard, shake your head, keep working. You tell yourself that as long as you're moving, you're alive. It becomes a mantra, quiet but insistent. When they finally call a halt, your body almost collapses in relief. You lean on the axe handle for a moment, breathing hard, chest heaving. Your lungs feel raw, your throat burns. Your hands are slick with sweat and blood. You look at your palms and barely recognize them, red, swollen, skin split open in several places. You flex your fingers and pain shoots up your arms. You welcome it. Pain means you can still feel. The walk back to camp is slower. Everyone is drained now. Feet drag, heads hang low. The cold feels even more aggressive as the sun dips lower, shadows stretching long and dark across the snow. You're aware of every step, every jolt of pain from your foot, every ache in your back and shoulders. The camp comes into view again, the wire and watchtowers stark against the pale sky. You feel no relief at seeing it, only a dull resignation. Dinner is another ladle of thin soup. You eat it sitting this time, perched on the edge of your bunk. Your hands shake so badly you spill some, and the sight of it soaking into the dirt makes your chest tighten with something close to grief. You scrape the bowl clean anyway, even licking the rim again. Shame is a luxury you can't afford. Your body starts to crash almost immediately after. The exhaustion is total, pressing down on you from every direction. You strip off your jacket and lie back on the bunk, staring up at the wood above you. Your muscles twitch involuntarily. Your foot throbs in deep, steady pulses. You try to stretch and regret it instantly. Everything hurts now, not sharply, but everywhere at once. As the barrack settles into uneasy quiet, your thoughts begin to drift in dangerous directions. You think of warmth, not just physical warmth, but comfort. A chair by the stove, a mug in your hands. You think of sitting without needing to recover afterward. The images feel almost obscene in this place. They make your chest ache worse than hunger does. You force your mind back to the present, to the sounds around you, the crackle of the stove, the wind rattling the walls, someone coughing nearby, each cough wetter and more desperate than the last. You wonder how long they've been coughing like that. You wonder how long before they stop. As sleep finally pulls you under, heavy and relentless, one realization settles in with chilling clarity. This wasn't the worst day, not even close. This was just the first full day of work. The camp hasn't tested you yet. It's only measuring you. And as your body sinks into a shallow, uneasy rest, you understand that the real cold isn't the Siberian air biting at your skin. It's the slow, grinding realization that this routine, hunger, pain, exhaustion, is not a phase. It's the structure of your life now. Hunger wakes before you do. It claws its way into your awareness while your eyes are still closed, a sharp, insistent pressure that makes it impossible to sink fully into sleep. Your stomach feels tight and hollow, as if it's collapsed in on itself. When you finally open your eyes, the barrack is dim and cold, the air heavy with the smell of damp wood and unwashed bodies. For a moment, you don't remember where you are. Then the ache in your muscles, the throb in your foot, and the gnawing emptiness in your gut align, and the memory settles back into place. You sit up slowly, careful not to move too fast. Moving too fast makes the dizziness worse now. Your head swims if you're not cautious. You swing your legs down and your boots hit the floor, sending a jolt of pain up through your foot and into your knee. You grit your teeth and breathe through it. Around you, men are stirring in the same way, slow, deliberate, conserving what little energy they have. No one looks rested. Sleep here isn't recovery, it's just a pause. Outside, the cold feels sharper than yesterday, or maybe you feel weaker. The two are starting to blur together. You line up again, breath steaming, shoulders hunched. When the food comes, it's the same thin gruel, the same small piece of bread. But today, the sight of it does something different to you. Your mouth floods with saliva immediately. Your hands shake as you take the bowl, not just from the cold, but from need so intense it feels almost painful. You eat faster than you should, then force yourself to slow down, spoon hovering in midair as you argue silently with your own body. Eating too quickly makes the hunger worse later. You've learned that already. You chew the bread carefully, counting each bite, trying to make it last. The gruel is barely warm. It slides down your throat without resistance, leaving nothing behind. When it's gone, the emptiness rushes back in, louder than before, like a voice that's been waiting its turn. Work begins again, and the forest feels farther away today. The walk seems longer. Your legs feel heavy, unresponsive. Each step costs more than it did yesterday. When you reach the trees, your hands already feel weak around the axe handle. You swing anyway. You always swing. Hunger changes the way you think. You notice it slowly at first. Your thoughts begin to narrow, circling the same ideas over and over. Food, bread, soup, fat, salt. You imagine textures before you imagine faces. You picture the crust of bread cracking between your teeth, the way warmth spreads in your chest after swallowing something substantial. The images come uninvited, vivid and distracting. You shake your head, try to focus on the rhythm of work. Swing, breathe, swing. But the hunger is persistent. It doesn't respect discipline. Your arms tire faster today. The axe feels heavier, like it's gained weight overnight. You misjudge a swing, and the blade glances off the trunk at a bad angle, sending a jarring shock through your wrists. Pain flares. You hiss under your breath and adjust your grip. A guard's gaze flicks towards you briefly. You straighten immediately, heart pounding, and swing again with renewed force. Mistakes feel dangerous now in ways you don't fully understand. As the hours drag on, the hunger sharpens. It's no longer just emptiness, it's pain, a twisting, gnawing sensation that makes you slightly nauseous. Your mouth feels dry despite the sweat soaking your clothes. You lick your lips repeatedly. Your thoughts start to slip. You lose track of time more often. You find yourself staring at the snow on the ground, imagining it as salt, as sugar, as flour. The realization jolts you, embarrassment and fear flaring together. You look away quickly. Someone nearby drops their axe. The sound is loud in the quiet forest. Everyone flinches. The man bends to pick it up, movements slow and clumsy. His hands are shaking badly. You notice how thin his wrists look, bones sharp under skin. He looks older than he probably is. You wonder how long he's been here. You wonder if this is what you look like already.
By midday, your vision starts to blur at the edges. You blink hard, trying to clear it, but it keeps happening. Black spots drift in and out when you stand upright too long. You bend slightly at the waist while swinging, conserving energy, trying to keep blood flowing to your head. The forest smells sharp and clean despite everything, pine and cold air. The smell makes your stomach clench violently. Clean smells make hunger worse. There is no real break, no pause to eat more. When they finally call time, it feels abrupt and unreal, like being shaken awake from a bad dream only to find you're still inside it. You lean on the axe handle again, chest heaving, sweat freezing on your skin as soon as you stop moving. The cold rushes in immediately, punishing stillness. The walk back is a blur. Your legs move on instinct now. You don't remember each step, just the general sense of forward motion and pain. When the camp comes into view, your stomach sinks, not from fear, but from a strange disappointment. Part of you had hoped, irrationally, that something might have changed while you were gone, that the wire might be gone, that the towers might be empty. They aren't. Dinner is the same as always. Thin soup, no seconds. You eat it with an intensity that surprises you, eyes fixed on the bowl as if staring might make more appear. When it's gone, you scrape it obsessively, fingers tracing the inside as if you might find something you missed. You don't. The hunger doesn't recede, it sharpens. Back on your bunk, your thoughts spiral in on themselves. Food dominates everything now. You start noticing crumbs on the floor, specks of dirt that look like something edible at a glance. You catch yourself staring at another man's bread ration earlier, counting bites, estimating size. The realization makes your chest tighten with a mix of shame and fear. You don't like what hunger is doing to you. You don't like how quickly it's stripping away parts of you that used to feel solid. That night, dreams come hard and relentless. You dream of eating, not feasts, not celebrations, but simple things. A bowl of porridge thick enough to hold a spoon upright. Bread that tears cleanly instead of crumbling. Fat melting on your tongue. You wake with your jaw clenched and your mouth watering, heart racing. The disappointment is crushing when you realize where you are. It takes long minutes for your breathing to steady. The days blur together after that. Hunger becomes constant, no longer spiking and fading, but settling into a steady, brutal presence. It follows you to work. It follows you back. It whispers to you while you try to sleep. It changes the way time feels, stretching it painfully, making each hour feel earned through suffering. You start to notice changes in others, too. Arguments flare over nothing, over space, over a look held too long. People guard their food with their bodies now, turning away as they eat, even from those they've shared a bunk with for weeks. Trust thins. Hunger makes everyone sharp-edged.
Your own thoughts begin to worry you. You catch yourself calculating how much soup spills when someone stumbles, wondering if it's enough to lick from the ground without being seen. You imagine stealing, just once, just a bite. The images feel vivid, tempting. You're terrified by how reasonable they seem. You remind yourself that getting caught would mean punishment, maybe worse. Fear keeps you in line. For now. Late one night, as you lie awake listening to the sounds of the barrack, you realize something with a clarity that feels almost calm. Hunger is no longer just a condition, it's a presence. It has a voice now, low and patient, always negotiating. It doesn't shout, it doesn't threaten, it simply waits, confident that eventually you will listen. And as you stare into the dark, stomach aching, mouth dry, body exhausted, you understand the quiet truth of this place. The cold breaks the body, the work grinds it down, but hunger is what reshapes you. It doesn't just weaken you, it teaches you who you might become if this goes on long enough. You start to lose track of when people arrived and when they disappeared. Faces blur together, not because you don't care, but because remembering costs something now. Memory takes energy, names take energy, and energy is a currency you no longer have much of. At first, you notice absences only in passing, an empty space on a bunk, a coat that no longer hangs by the door, an axe leaning unused against a tree. You assume the man has been moved to another work detail, another barrack. Reassignments happen, people are shuffled constantly. That explanation is easier to hold on to than the alternatives. It lets you keep working without your chest tightening too much. But the empty spaces don't fill again. You sit up on your bunk one morning and realize the man who slept below you hasn't stirred. He usually coughs before he wakes, a deep, rattling sound that echoes through his chest. Today there's nothing, no movement, no sound. His blanket is pulled up around his shoulders, his face turned toward the wall. You watch for longer than you should, waiting for the rise and fall of breathing. It doesn't come. Someone notices eventually, a quiet nudge, a muttered curse. Two men lift the body by the arms, movements efficient and practiced. The head lolls back, mouth open, eyes half-lidded and unfocused. The skin looks gray in the weak light. You look away as they drag him out. There is no ceremony, no pause. You feel something tighten in your chest, then loosen again. The reaction surprises you. You expected panic, horror. Instead, there's a dull, distant sadness, quickly smothered by hunger and routine. You hate yourself a little for how quickly you adapt. You also feel a thin, cold relief that it wasn't you. Work continues. It always does. The forest doesn't care who swung the axe yesterday. The trees wait patiently. You swing, breathe, swing. Your body moves on habit now, not strength. Your arms feel thinner. Your jacket hangs looser. You catch sight of your reflection in a patch of dark glass on a building one day and barely recognize the face staring back. Your cheeks are hollow. Your eyes look too big. You turn away quickly, unsettled. More faces fade. A man who used to hum quietly while he worked stops coming to the line.
A younger one who talked too much at first, who still believed in telling stories about home, disappears after a night of fever. His bunk stays empty. No one asks where he went. Asking feels dangerous. It also feels pointless. You notice how people stop introducing themselves. Early on, names were exchanged in whispers, small gestures of connection. Now interactions are stripped down to necessity. A nod, a shared tool, a brief warning when a guard is watching. Names become liabilities. If you don't know them, you don't have to grieve them. Friendship, you learn, is a risk calculation. Every attachment is a future wound. You feel yourself pulling back, becoming careful with your attention. You don't sit as close to the same people every night. You don't listen as intently to personal details. You don't ask follow-up questions. You build walls inside yourself even as the physical walls press in. One evening, a man beside you on the bunk doesn't get up for dinner. He's breathing, shallow and fast, skin hot to the touch despite the cold air. His eyes are unfocused, lips cracked and bleeding. He mutters something under his breath, words without structure. You recognize the signs now: fever, infection, exhaustion stacked too high. You hesitate, then tug his blanket up around his shoulders, a small, almost unconscious act. The next morning, his space is empty. The pattern becomes familiar, too familiar. Bodies fail quietly here. There are no dramatic collapses most of the time, no last words. People simply slow down until they stop. The camp absorbs them without comment. The forest absorbs their labor and waits for the next set of hands. Your own body begins to scare you in new ways. You notice how your thoughts sometimes lag behind your movements, how words slip away when you try to form them, how your hands shake even when you're not cold. You notice the dull ache in your chest that wasn't there before. You start paying attention to your breathing at night, half afraid you'll forget how to do it in your sleep. Hallucinations creep back in, subtle but persistent. You catch sight of someone you're sure you recognize, only to realize they've been gone for days. You hear voices calling out during work, turn your head and find only trees. At night, you dream of people who vanished, whole conversations playing out vividly, only to dissolve when you wake. The dreams leave you with a sense of unfinished business that gnaws at you.
One day, someone stumbles while carrying a log and doesn't get up right away. A guard shouts. The man tries to rise, fails, tries again. His legs buckle. There's a sharp crack as a rifle butt connects with his back. The sound is sickeningly solid. He cries out once, then goes quiet. You keep your eyes on your work, heart pounding, jaw clenched so hard it hurts. You learn another rule without it being spoken. Stopping is dangerous. Falling is worse. That night, the man's bunk is empty. You start to measure time in losses. 3 gone this week, 2 the week before. You don't know how many. You've stopped counting. You find yourself scanning faces each morning, checking who's still there. It feels like taking inventory. You hate that about yourself. You do it anyway. There are moments when connection breaks through despite everything. A shared glance during work, a brief smile over a particularly bitter joke whispered too quietly to be heard. Those moments feel sharp and precious, like something stolen. They also hurt more now because you know how fragile they are. You don't let them linger. One evening, as you're lying on your bunk, the coughing nearby grows worse. It's a wet, tearing sound that makes your skin prickle. The man coughing is younger than most, cheeks flushed with fever, eyes glassy. He gasps for breath between fits. No one moves to help him, not because they don't care, but because there's nothing to be done. You turn your face toward the wall, trying to block out the sound. Sleep doesn't come. Sometime before morning, the coughing stops. The silence is heavy, almost loud. You lie there, staring into the dark, heart racing. When morning comes, the space beside you is empty again. You feel a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief that the noise is gone, dread because you know what that silence means.
As the days go on, you realize that death here isn't dramatic. It's administrative, a problem to be removed so work can continue smoothly. Bodies are dragged away, numbers are crossed off, the line closes ranks and moves forward. You feel yourself changing in response. Grief flattens, fear sharpens, compassion becomes quieter, more selective. You still feel it, you know you do, but it's buried under layers of caution and fatigue. You save it for moments that feel unavoidable, for small acts that don't draw attention. Late one night, as the barracks settles and the wind howls outside, you catch yourself thinking about someone who died days ago and realize you can't remember his face clearly anymore. The realization hits you harder than any blow. You press your eyes shut, trying to force the image back, but it's already faded. You understand then what this place is doing, beyond the cold and hunger and labor. It's thinning the world, reducing it to only what is necessary to keep moving. Everything else, memory, attachment, identity, is treated as excess weight. As you lie there, listening to the breath of the men who are still alive, you make a quiet, grim promise to yourself. You will keep going. You will stay upright. You will not be the empty bunk. But beneath that promise is another truth you don't want to face yet. Every day you survive, there are fewer people left to remember who you used to be.
The first crack appears quietly, not as a collapse, not as panic, but as a small distortion you almost miss. You're standing in the forest, axe in your hands, breath steaming in short bursts, when you realize the sound of chopping has fallen out of rhythm. For a moment, you're convinced everyone else has stopped. You lift your head, heart jumping, but the work is still going on around you, wood splitting, boots shifting, breath rasping. The rhythm hasn't changed, only your perception has. You blink hard. The world snaps back into focus, sharp and painful. You swing again, harder than necessary, as if force can drive the doubt out of your skull. The axe bites into the trunk. The vibration runs up your arms. You welcome it. Pain is still reliable. Pain still tells the truth. But the sensation lingers. A thin, unsettling awareness that something inside you is no longer aligned properly. Hunger has hollowed you out to the point where your thoughts feel exposed, unprotected. Sleep comes in scraps. The cold never fully leaves. Your mind, deprived of rest and fuel, begins to misfire. At first, it's small things, sounds that don't match their sources, movements at the edge of your vision that vanish when you turn your head. You tell yourself it's exhaustion. Everyone is exhausted. That explanation holds until it doesn't. During roll call one morning, you hear your name, not your number, your name, clear as if spoken into your ear. Your spine stiffens instantly. Your breath catches. For a split second, your chest floods with something dangerously close to hope. Then panic slams into it just as fast. No one else reacts. The line stays still. The guards keep counting. The name doesn't come again. You stand frozen, heart hammering, blood roaring in your ears. You replay the sound in your head, trying to dissect it, to prove to yourself it wasn't real. You don't succeed. The name felt too complete, too specific. It wasn't a memory, it was a voice. You spend the rest of the morning working harder than you need to, muscles burning, sweat freezing on your skin, just to drown out the possibility that your mind is slipping. Losing your grip on reality feels more dangerous than hunger, more dangerous than cold. A broken body can still be directed. A broken mind draws attention. The hallucinations don't announce themselves. They blend in. That's what makes them terrifying. You smell bread where there is none. Thick, warm, unmistakable. The scent wraps around you so convincingly that your mouth fills with saliva before you even question it. You look down, half expecting to see crumbs on your jacket, something you missed. There's nothing, just snow and dirt and wood chips. The smell fades slowly, leaving behind an ache so intense it makes you dizzy. At night, the barrack walls seem to breathe.
The wood creaks and settles, expanding and contracting with the cold, but your mind gives the sounds shape and intent. You lie on your bunk, staring into the darkness, convinced the room is listening, that if you think too loudly, something will hear you. You clamp down on your thoughts, forcing them into small, safe loops, counting breaths, counting boards in the wall, counting the seconds between coughs. Sleep, when it comes, is no longer refuge, it's a trap door. You dream with brutal clarity, not abstract dreams, not fragments, but scenes that feel complete and solid. You dream you're back in your apartment, the stove warm, the window rattling softly with wind. You feel the chair under you. You feel the mug in your hands. You smell coal smoke and boiled water. The sense of relief is so overwhelming it makes your chest hurt. When you wake, the loss hits you like a blow. For a few seconds you don't move, afraid that if you do, the dream will finish dissolving. It always does anyway. You begin to dread the moments just before sleep, that drifting space where images form without your permission. Faces of people who died here return with unsettling detail. They speak to you not in accusations, but in ordinary conversation, asking simple questions, making comments about the weather. You answer them in your head before you realize what you're doing. When the realization comes, shame and fear crash together, leaving you wide awake and shaking. During work one afternoon, the forest changes. The trees seem closer together than they were yesterday. The space between them narrows, compressing. You feel watched, not by guards, but by the land itself. The branches overhead look like arms reaching inward. The wind threads through them, producing a low, whispering sound that feels intentional. You know rationally that this is nonsense. Trees don't conspire, forests don't observe, but the feeling doesn't leave. You miss a swing, and the axe bites into the frozen ground instead of the trunk. The jolt rattles your bones. A guard's shout snaps through the air. You flinch violently, heart racing, and correct yourself immediately. The guard watches you for a long moment, eyes narrowed. You force your face into something blank, compliant. Inside, panic claws at you. You can't afford to look unstable. Instability is noticed. Instability is corrected. You start policing your own thoughts more aggressively. Any image that feels too vivid is shoved aside. Any memory that surfaces too strongly is suppressed. You keep your mind focused on immediate sensations, the weight of the axe, the burn in your arms, the rhythm of your breath. You reduce yourself to mechanics because mechanics don't hallucinate.
But even that begins to fail. The cold starts to feel inconsistent. Sometimes it vanishes entirely for a few seconds, replaced by a spreading warmth so convincing you almost sigh in relief. Then it snaps back without warning, more vicious than before, like punishment for believing in the warmth at all. You worry that you might stop responding to the cold one day, that your body will no longer signal danger properly. You notice others slipping too. A man stands in line staring at nothing, lips moving silently. Another laughs suddenly at something no one else can see, the sound brittle and wrong. He stops as quickly as he started, eyes darting, terrified of being heard. No one acknowledges it. Acknowledgement would mean admitting it could happen to you too. One evening, after dinner, you find yourself convinced you've been given more soup than usual. The bowl feels heavier, the surface looks thicker. Your heart surges with cautious excitement. You stare at it, afraid to believe, afraid that if you test it too quickly, it will vanish. You sip carefully. It's the same as always. The disappointment is crushing, irrationally intense. Your vision swims, your hands tremble. For a moment, a dangerous thought surfaces. What if the bowl is wrong? What if someone took something from you? What if this is deliberate? The paranoia blooms fast and hot before you clamp down on it. You lower your head, breathe slowly, force logic back into place. This place doesn't need to target you personally. It grinds everyone down equally. Still, the seed is there now. That night, You wake convinced you're being called outside. The sense of urgency is overwhelming. You sit up, heart racing, ready to swing your legs down from the bunk. It takes several long seconds to realize no one is shouting. No one is moving. The barrack is still, heavy with sleep and sickness. You lie back down, sweating despite the cold, shaken by how close you came to acting on something unreal. You begin to understand why people break here. Not all at once, not loudly. They fracture in pieces small enough to ignore until there's nothing left holding them together. Your sense of time starts to distort further. Days feel shorter even as they exhaust you more. You lose track of how long you've been here. The idea of counting weeks feels absurd. The past compresses into a single blur of hunger and cold. The future refuses to take shape at all. There is only the next hour, the next task, the next breath. Sometimes, in moments of extreme fatigue, you feel yourself floating slightly outside your body, watching your own movements from a distance. The sensation is subtle but unmistakable. You swing the axe and observe yourself swinging it. You hear your breath and recognize it as yours without fully feeling it. The detachment is calming in a way that scares you. You worry that if you lean into it too much, you won't come back. The worst moments are when clarity returns.
When your mind sharpens briefly and you see your condition with brutal honesty, your thinning arms, your cracked hands, your dulled reactions, the realization that you are not adapting so much as eroding, those moments bring a surge of despair so intense it almost buckles you. You shove them away as quickly as you can. Despair is loud. Loud things are dangerous. Late one night, as the barrack settles and the wind rattles the walls, you hear footsteps outside that don't match the usual pattern. They stop near the door. Your heart jumps into your throat. You hold your breath, convinced someone is about to be taken. After a long, unbearable pause, the steps move on. The relief leaves you shaking, tears stinging your eyes despite your effort to suppress them. You press your face into your sleeve and breathe through it until the moment passes. As sleep finally drags you under, fragmented and shallow, one understanding settles into you with chilling certainty. The camp is no longer just attacking your body, it's probing your mind, testing how much distortion you can endure before you lose your ability to tell what is real. You don't know how much longer you can hold the line, but you know this: once your mind fully betrays you, there will be no alarm, no clear moment of failure. You will simply start obeying things that were never said, and no one will need to force you anymore. The day begins like the others, which is how it almost ends you. You wake to the familiar violence of sound, shouting, boots, the barrack jolting into motion, and for a few long seconds you cannot make your body respond. Your eyes are open, staring at the underside of the bunk above you, but your limbs feel distant, unconnected. The space between thought and movement has widened. You tell your hand to move. It doesn't. Panic flares, sharp and sudden, and only then does your body obey, fingers twitching, legs stiffly swinging down to the floor. You sit there longer than you should. The cold gnaws at your ankles. Your foot is swollen now, the skin stretched tight and shiny, toes numb in a way that feels wrong. Not cold numb, dead numb. You press down inside the boot and feel pressure, but no pain. That scares you more than pain ever did. You force yourself up. Outside, the air feels heavier, as if the cold has thickened overnight. The sky is the same flat gray, but lower somehow, pressing down on the camp. During roll call, the line sways slightly. Not just you, others too. Men shift their weight, blink hard, fight to stay upright. You notice how many heads are bowed now, how few eyes look forward. Everyone is conserving something. Balance, focus, will. Your number is called. You answer a second too late.
The guard's gaze snaps to you. It lingers. You straighten immediately, heart hammering, throat dry. Nothing happens. The count continues, but something has shifted. You feel it settle over you like a thin layer of ice. Work today is farther from camp, deeper into the forest. The walk alone drains you more than it should. Your breath comes ragged. Each step sends a dull shock through your leg. You fall slightly behind the group without meaning to, then force yourself to close the gap, panic spiking at the idea of being singled out. Being separate feels dangerous. When you reach the work site, your hands barely respond around the axe handle. Your grip feels weak, unreliable. You swing anyway. The first blow lands poorly, glancing off the trunk. The jolt rattles your arms and sends pain flaring up into your shoulders and neck. Your vision darkens. You sway. You stop. It's only for a second, barely noticeable, but stopping here is like stepping off a cliff. A shout cuts through the air, not your name, just a command. You flinch and raise the axe again, swinging too hard, too fast. The blade bites deep this time, lodging in the wood. You struggle to pull it free. Your hands slip. Panic surges as precious seconds bleed away. You feel it then, something tearing loose inside you. Your chest tightens. Your breath comes too fast. The forest tilts slightly. The sound of chopping around you stretches and warps, like it's echoing down a long tunnel. You are suddenly aware of how weak you are, how thin, how close to the edge you've drifted without noticing. You pull the axe free and swing again, but your arms shake violently now. The blade bites shallow, useless. The voice inside you, the one hunger grew, the one exhaustion sharpened, finally speaks clearly. You can't do this. The thought lands with terrifying calm. Not panic, not despair, just fact. You swing again anyway, but your knees buckle. The world lurches. Snow rushes up toward you. You don't fall all the way. You catch yourself on one knee, one hand pressed into the frozen ground. The cold burns through your glove instantly. Your head spins. Black dots swarm your vision. The forest goes silent. You know it hasn't. You know others are still working, but your perception collapses inward, narrowing until there is only your breathing, loud and ragged, and the pounding of blood in your ears. You try to stand. Your leg refuses. A boot crunches in the snow beside you. You don't look up. You brace for pain, for the crack of wood or metal against your back. Your body tightens instinctively, curling inward to protect what it can. It doesn't come. Instead, hands grab your arms, rough, impatient, and haul you upright. Your head snaps back. The sudden movement makes you dizzy. For a moment, the sky spins wildly, gray blending into white, blending into black. You are dragged away from the worksite. Your feet barely cooperate. You stumble, half carried, half dragged through the snow. You're aware of eyes on you. Other prisoners glancing quickly away, fear flickering across their faces. You recognize it instantly. It's the look you've learned to avoid giving, the look that says, "That could be me next." Your thoughts fracture as you're pulled along. A part of you feels relief, stopping, warmth, rest. Another screams that this is a mistake, that being removed from work is never neutral. It means you've been noticed. It means you've been judged insufficient. You are taken to a low building near the edge of camp. You've passed it before without really seeing it. Now, up close, it smells wrong. Not just bad, wrong, chemical, sour, rotting underneath layers of disinfectant. Inside, the air is warmer, but the warmth feels hostile, pressing in on you. The light is harsh and unforgiving. You're shoved onto a bench. Your legs give out, and you slump forward, elbows on knees, head hanging. Your heart races uncontrollably. Your breath refuses to slow. Someone grips your chin and jerks your head up. Your eyes struggle to focus on the face in front of you. The features blur, then sharpen. The expression is unreadable, clinical, bored. You're examined quickly, roughly. Your jacket is pulled open. Hands press into your chest, your abdomen. Fingers pry off your boot.
When the cold air hits your foot, you finally feel pain again, white-hot and blinding. You gasp involuntarily, a sound torn from you before you can stop it. The reaction earns attention. Your foot is swollen badly now, skin discolored, toes an unhealthy shade. The man handling it presses down hard. You cry out. You hate yourself for the sound, but you can't stop it. Your body betrays you completely. You are dismissed just as quickly. Not back to work, not back to the barrack. You're moved to another space, a room with several bunks, fewer men. The air is thick with the smell of sickness. Coughing echoes constantly here, layered and relentless. Groans rise and fall. Some men lie motionless, eyes opened and unfocused. Others mutter softly, lost somewhere you can't follow.
You understand where you are before anyone tells you. This is where the work stoppers go. You're pushed onto a lower bunk. The mattress, if it can be called that, is damp and thin. Your body sags into it heavily. The effort of holding yourself upright has been draining you more than you realized. The moment you stop, exhaustion crashes down like a weight. Your thoughts unravel. Time loses its edges completely here. There is no schedule you can track. Food arrives irregularly. Sometimes it's the same thin soup. Sometimes nothing comes at all. You drift in and out of sleep without control. Dreams bleed into waking. Waking bleeds into hallucination. Your foot throbs constantly now, pain radiating up your leg into your hip. Fever creeps in quietly. You shiver despite the warmth. Your skin feels too tight, too sensitive. Every sound feels amplified. Every smell makes your stomach lurch. Men disappear from this room faster than from the barrack. One night, someone is coughing violently in the bunk beside you. By morning, the bunk is empty. No one comments, no one asks. The space is filled by afternoon. You start to lose your sense of self more rapidly here. Without work to structure your day, your thoughts spiral unchecked. Memories surface without warning. Your apartment, your name, a song you used to know, the sound of laughter. These memories feel dangerous now. They pull at you, threaten to split you open. You try to push them away, but your mind is too weak. At some point, hours or days later, you realize something else, something colder and more frightening than the pain or the fever. You are no longer afraid of dying. The realization settles in quietly, without drama. You test it, turning it over in your mind. The idea of simply stopping, of the hunger ending, the cold ending, the fear ending, feels less terrifying than it should. It feels almost restful. That scares you more than anything else so far, because you understand what this means. This is the edge, not collapse, not madness. Surrender. You lie there staring at the ceiling, listening to the labored breathing around you, and you understand that survival is no longer automatic. It's a decision you must keep making, moment by moment, and the reasons to stop are stacking up faster than the reasons to continue. Then one morning, movement jolts you fully awake. You are lifted roughly from the bunk, hands under your arms. Your foot drags uselessly behind you. You're too weak to resist, too confused to ask where you're being taken. The air outside slams into you, clean and brutally cold. The shock clears your head slightly. You blink against the light, squinting as the camp comes into focus again. You're led past familiar buildings, past the wire, toward a section you'd never been to before. You catch fragments of conversation you're not meant to hear, words that don't quite register, lists, numbers, transport. Transport. The word slices through your fog with sudden clarity. Your heart begins to race again, not with panic this time, but with a thin, fragile thread of something else. Fear, yes, but also possibility. You don't know if transport means relief or something worse. Another camp, another sentence, an ending, a beginning. You've learned better than to hope openly. But as you're placed in line with others who look as broken as you feel, one thought anchors itself stubbornly in your mind.
You are still here. You fell. You stopped. And yet, you are still breathing. As guards move down the line, checking numbers, making marks on paper, you realize that whatever happens next, whether it's rescue, relocation, or disappearance, you have crossed a threshold. The camp has done its worst to you. It has broken your body. It has cracked your mind. And now it is deciding whether you are worth keeping alive. That decision is no longer yours. But the fact that you're standing here at all, barely upright, barely conscious, means you have survived something that many did not. You don't know what tomorrow holds, but you know this moment. This is the point where the story stops being about endurance alone. This is where fate steps in, and you are too exhausted to look away.
You are moved before you're fully awake. Hands grip your arms again, not violently, not gently, efficiently. The kind of handling reserved for cargo that still has a use. Your feet scrape the ground as you're guided forward. Your injured foot barely registers sensation now, just a dull pressure that lags behind movement. The cold air outside bites hard, clean enough to cut through the fever haze clouding your head. It hurts, and the pain, sharp and unmistakable, anchors you. You are alive. The line you're placed in is shorter than most. The men around you look like mirrors distorted by exhaustion, faces sunken, eyes too bright or too empty, bodies wrapped in ill-fitting clothes that hang off bone. No one speaks. No one asks why they're here. You've all learned better. Questions are dangerous. Explanations are irrelevant. A truck waits nearby, engine idling low. Steam rises from its exhaust in thick white plumes that dissolve into the pale sky. The sound is different from the trains, different from the camp machinery. It feels temporary, transitional. That alone makes your stomach tighten. You are counted. Your number is checked against a paper. The guard pauses briefly when he reaches you, eyes flicking to your foot, your face. For a moment you think he might shake his head, send you back. Instead, he marks something on the page and gestures sharply. You are told to get in. The truck bed is bare metal, rimed with frost. You're helped up, not out of kindness, but because you don't move fast enough on your own. You collapse onto the floor, back against the side, breath coming shallow and fast. The metal leaches heat from your body immediately. You curl slightly without meaning to, trying to protect your foot, your core, whatever is left that still feels fragile. The truck jolts forward. The camp begins to recede almost immediately. Watchtowers slide past. Barbed wire blurs into gray lines. The barracks shrink, then vanish behind a rise in the snow. You don't turn your head to look back. You're afraid of what it might do to you, to see the place that nearly killed you framed like something survivable. You're afraid of feeling relief too early. The road is rough. Every bump sends a jolt through your body. Pain flares, then dulls again, like your nerves are struggling to keep up. Wind whips over the sides of the truck, cutting through your clothes. You pull your jacket tighter with stiff hands. The sky is wide and empty above you, a flat expanse of gray that seems to stretch forever. No one tells you where you're going. Time stretches. The truck drives on and on, leaving the camp far behind. Forest gives way to open land, then back to forest again. The landscape looks the same everywhere. Snow, trees, emptiness, but you sense distance accumulating. You are moving away from something. That alone feels significant. Your thoughts drift unpredictably. Fever makes them slippery. You drift in and out of awareness, head lolling against the metal wall. In one moment, you're watching the road slide past. In the next, you're somewhere else entirely. Your apartment, the stove warm, your hands whole and steady. The transitions are jarring. You wake each time with a sharp intake of breath, disoriented, unsure which reality is correct.
Eventually, the truck slows. You force your eyes open fully, blinking against the cold wind. Buildings come into view. Low, squat structures clustered together, less imposing than the camp but still utilitarian. There's no wire here, No towers. That absence feels strange, almost unsettling. You've grown used to the visible threat. This place feels quieter, more ambiguous. The truck stops. You're helped down again, boots hitting packed snow. Your injured foot protests sharply now that weight returns to it. You grit your teeth and stay upright. You've learned that collapsing invites attention you don't want. You're ushered inside one of the buildings. The air is warmer immediately, thick with the smell of antiseptic, boiled water, and illness. A different kind of suffering lives here. You recognize it instinctively. This is not a place of punishment. It's a place of sorting. You are seated on a bench along the wall. Others sit beside you, equally silent. A man across from you stares at the floor, lips moving soundlessly. Another presses a rag to a wound on his arm, blood seeping through anyway. No one looks surprised to be here. That frightens you. Your name is spoken, not your number. Your head snaps up so fast it makes you dizzy. For a moment you think it's another hallucination. The sound feels wrong in your ears, like a word from a forgotten language. But it comes again, clearer this time, attached to a face looking directly at you. You struggle to stand. Someone helps you before you fall. You're taken into a small room, a desk, a chair, papers stacked neatly. The man behind the desk looks tired, not cruel. His eyes flick over you with something like assessment, not judgment. He gestures for you to sit. You lower yourself carefully, every movement deliberate. The chair is solid, surprisingly comfortable. That alone feels suspicious. You are examined again, but differently this time. Your foot is unwrapped, inspected with more care. Fingers press gently instead of brutally. You hiss anyway. The pain is real no matter the intent. Notes are taken. Questions are asked. Simple ones. Your name, your age, your work, your health before the camp. You answer slowly, carefully, afraid of saying too much, afraid of saying too little. Your voice sounds wrong to you. Thin, hoarse, unfamiliar. It doesn't feel like it belongs to you anymore. The man listens. He nods occasionally, writes something down. When he looks at you, there is no accusation in his eyes, no suspicion, just procedure. Finally, he leans back slightly. You are told you are being released. The word doesn't register immediately. It floats in the air between you, meaningless at first. Released where? Released how? Your mind scrambles for context, for danger. You wait for the condition, the correction, the explanation that turns the word into something else. It doesn't come. You are told you are no longer fit for labor, that your injury, your condition, makes you unsuitable, that continuing would likely result in death. The words are delivered flatly, without drama, as if this is a technical conclusion rather than a human one. You are told you will be sent away from the camp system, not home. The distinction matters. You feel it immediately. Hope flares, then is carefully, deliberately contained. You don't let it expand. You've learned the cost of that. Papers are signed, stamped, folded. Your name is written again, clean and official. You watch the pen move across the page, fascinated by how ordinary it looks, how easily ink decides the direction of a life. You are given back a few things, not everything. Some items are gone forever. Others are returned without comment. You accept them silently. Gratitude feels dangerous. So does resentment. You are told when you will leave. Soon. The word has weight now. Soon means not indefinite, not endless. Soon means movement, change, uncertainty. You are led to another room to wait. The waiting here feels different, lighter somehow, despite the pain and exhaustion still clinging to you. You sit against the wall, head resting back, eyes closed. Your body is trembling, not from cold this time, but from something like release. Not relief. Release implies something loosening its grip. Your thoughts are chaotic. Images collide without order. The camp, the forest, the train, the apartment, your name spoken aloud. You press your fingers into your palms, grounding yourself in sensation. You are afraid that if you drift too far, this will vanish like a dream. Eventually, you are moved again. This time, the transport is smaller, fewer people, quieter. You are helped aboard and given a blanket. A real blanket. Rough, military-issued, but undeniably warm. When it's placed around your shoulders, your body reacts before your mind does. A shudder runs through you, deep and uncontrollable. Your eyes burn. You stare straight ahead and do not cry. The vehicle moves. You don't know how long the journey lasts. You drift in and out of sleep, deeper this time, pulled under by exhaustion so complete it feels like surrender. But something is different. The dreams are softer, less jagged. You still wake disoriented, but the panic recedes faster now. When you finally arrive, the place feels wrong, in a different way. There are people here who are not prisoners, civilians, workers, faces not stripped bare by hunger and fear. You see color in their cheeks, movement without caution. It's overwhelming. You keep your eyes down instinctively, unsure how to exist around them. You were given instructions, where to go, what to do, where to sleep. You follow them without question. Your bed is simple, but it is yours. You lie down carefully, foot elevated, blanket pulled tight. The room is quiet. Too quiet. The absence of shouting, coughing, boots, it presses in on you, unfamiliar and unsettling. Your body doesn't trust it. You lie awake for a long time, listening for sounds that don't come. Your mind keeps waiting for the reversal, for someone to burst in and tell you there's been a mistake, that you're being sent back, that you don't belong here. But the night passes. Morning comes. You are still there. The realization hits you slowly, cautiously. You test it like a sore tooth. You are no longer in the camp. You are no longer under immediate threat. The rules have changed, even if you don't understand the new ones yet. You sit up carefully, heart racing. The room is unchanged. The blanket is still warm. Your foot still hurts. Your body is still broken. But you are breathing. As you sit there, the weight of what you've survived presses down on you all at once. Not triumph, not gratitude. Something heavier, something quieter. You have been removed. Not saved, not redeemed. Removed. And as the full meaning of that settles in, you understand the truth that will follow you long after this place. Leaving does not mean the camp lets go of you. It just means you are now carrying it with you, into a world that will not know what to do with what you have become. You wake without a shout. The absence of it startles you more than noise ever did. Your eyes open slowly, cautiously, as if you're testing whether the world is real or another hallucination layered over exhaustion. The ceiling above you is unfamiliar, cleaner, smoother, unscarred by smoke or damp. For a moment, you don't move at all. You wait for boots. You wait for counting. You wait for the command that never comes. Your body doesn't believe the silence. You lie there listening, heart beating too fast for no reason you can name. Every muscle is tense, ready to react. The quiet feels exposed, dangerous, like standing in the open without cover. When no one comes, confusion creeps in. You don't know what to do with unclaimed time. Eventually, you sit up. The movement is careful, deliberate. Your foot still aches, deep and persistent, a reminder that the camp didn't release you gently. You lower it to the floor and test your weight. Pain flares, but it's manageable. That alone feels strange. Pain that doesn't threaten to escalate into punishment feels unreal. The room is small but orderly. A bed, a table, a chair, a window with glass that isn't sealed with paper. Light filters through it, pale but honest. You stare at the window for a long time, unnerved by how open it is. No bars, no wire shadow crossing the floor. You half expect someone to shout at you for standing too close. No one does. Outside there are voices, normal voices, not shouted commands, not whispered fears, just people speaking to each other, laughing even. The sound hits you harder than cold ever did. Your chest tightens. You don't know how to place yourself in a world where voices aren't careful. You dress slowly, hands trembling as they work buttons and sleeves. Your clothes are yours again, or something close to it. They fit poorly on your thinner frame, but they are clean. Clean fabric against your skin feels almost intimate. You pause, fingers pressing into the cloth, grounding yourself in the sensation. You are afraid that if you don't keep checking, this will dissolve. When you step outside, the air feels wrong. It's cold, yes, but it's not weaponized. It doesn't feel like it's trying to kill you. The sky is wider here, bluer. The snow is cleaner, not churned into gray sludge by endless boots. People move with purpose, but not fear. They walk without constantly scanning for threat. They stop to talk. They stand still without consequence. You don't. You hover near the building, uncertain, unsure where you're allowed to exist. Your posture gives you away immediately, shoulders hunched, arms close to your body, eyes down. You look like someone waiting to be corrected. You feel exposed without orders to follow. Someone greets you. The word takes a moment to register as directed at you. You flinch, heart slamming against your ribs, and look up too quickly. The person's expression shifts, not to anger, not to suspicion, but to something like concern. They repeat the greeting more gently. You nod. You don't trust your voice. They give you instructions, simple ones, where to go, when to eat, who to see about your foot. The words are calm, unhurried. No one threatens you with consequences. No one watches to see if you hesitate. You nod again, memorizing the directions like they might save your life later. Food comes next. Real food. The smell hits you first, and your body reacts violently. Your stomach twists hard enough to make you bend slightly at the waist. Saliva floods your mouth. Your hands start shaking before the bowl even reaches you. You're suddenly aware of how exposed hunger still is inside you, how little distance there is between survival and collapse. You force yourself to slow down. The bowl is fuller than anything you've seen in months. Steam rises from it. You stare at it longer than necessary, afraid that touching it will make it vanish. When you finally lift the spoon, your hand trembles so badly you spill some onto the table. The sight makes something sharp and painful bloom in your chest. You eat carefully, methodically. You chew longer than you need to. You pause between bites, listening for footsteps, waiting for someone to tell you you've had enough. No one does. The bowl remains. Bite by bite, the food settles into you, heavy and unfamiliar. Warmth spreads through your core in a way that feels almost overwhelming. You stop halfway through, suddenly nauseous. Your body doesn't trust abundance. It braces for punishment. You breathe through the discomfort, reminding yourself where you are, that the rules are different now, that stopping doesn't mean starvation later. Eventually, you finish the bowl, exhausted by the effort. You sit there afterward, hands resting on the table, stunned by the simple fact of being full. The rest of the day passes in fragments. You are sent to rest, to be examined, to wait. Waiting is familiar, but this waiting lacks threat. There is no shouting, no counting, no line that might suddenly close without you. Your mind doesn't know how to process that. You remain alert anyway, scanning every face, every movement, expecting danger to reassert itself. It doesn't. Instead, you notice how loud normal life is, how many unnecessary sounds exist. Doors closing gently, footsteps without urgency, wind through trees without meaning. Each sound makes you tense, muscles ready to react, and then leaves you suspended when nothing follows. At night, sleep does not come easily. You lie in a real bed, mattress soft under your back, blanket heavy and warm. Your body should welcome it. Instead, panic simmers just beneath the surface. Your mind keeps waiting for interruption, for someone to tear the blanket away, for light to snap on, for your name or number to be shouted. You jolt awake repeatedly, heart racing, breath shallow. Each time, the room remains unchanged. The silence presses in again. You stare into the darkness, listening to your own breathing, trying to convince yourself it's safe to let go. When sleep finally comes, it's violent. Dreams crash into you without warning. The camp returns in sharp sensory detail. Cold air slicing your lungs, the weight of the axe, the smell of rot and smoke. You wake drenched in sweat, tangled in the blanket, hands clawing at the mattress as if it's snow. It takes long minutes to remember where you are. This pattern repeats.
Days pass. Your body begins to heal in small, uneven ways. Your foot improves slowly. Strength creeps back into your limbs. But your mind lags behind, stuck in a rhythm that no longer exists. You flinch at raised voices. You avoid standing in open spaces. You eat too fast, then regret it. You hide food unconsciously, tucking pieces away even when there's no need. You realize with a dull shock that you don't know how to speak casually anymore. Every sentence feels like it needs a purpose. Every word feels like it might be evaluated. You keep your answers short, neutral, safe. People notice. Some give you space. Others don't know what to do with you at all. You don't blame them. You catch your reflection again one day, this time in a proper mirror. The face staring back still looks foreign. Health hasn't returned fully yet, but something else is wrong. Your eyes are alert in a way that doesn't match the room. They look like they're still searching for exits. You touch the number scarred into your memory, even though it's no longer on your clothes. It's still there inside you. You feel it as clearly as if it were inked into your skin. At night, when things are quiet and no one is watching, the truth settles in fully. You survived the camp, but survival didn't end when you left. It followed you out. The habits, the vigilance, the calculations, the way hunger still whispers, the way silence feels unsafe, the way kindness makes you suspicious. You understand now that freedom is not a switch that flips. It's a skill you no longer remember how to use. You lie awake listening to a world that no longer wants anything from you, and the thought lands heavy and unavoidable. The camp took years from your life, but it also taught you how to live in a way that this world does not recognize. And as you stare into the dark, breathing slowly, you realize that the hardest work ahead of you will not be rebuilding your body. It will be learning how to exist without constant fear, while carrying it with you anyway. You wake before dawn even now, not because anything wakes you, not because you need to be somewhere, but because your body still believes that survival requires anticipation. Your eyes open into darkness, and your muscles tense instantly, breath shallow, heart already racing. It takes several seconds, sometimes longer, for you to remember where you are. A room, a bed, no wire, no guards, no counting. The realization settles slowly, cautiously, like something fragile you don't want to break by moving too quickly. You lie still and listen. There are no boots, no shouting, no coughing echoing from crowded bunks, just the quiet hum of a building at rest, the distant sound of wind, maybe a pipe ticking somewhere in the walls. Ordinary sounds, harmless sounds. Your body doesn't believe that yet. It scans the silence the way it used to scan the forest line, looking for movement that means danger. When none comes, the tension eases slightly, but it never fully leaves. You sit up eventually, swinging your legs over the side of the bed. Your foot touches the floor and sends a familiar reminder up your leg. Pain, but a quieter one now. Healing pain. The kind that means time is passing. You acknowledge it with a small nod, as if checking in with a companion that followed you out of the camp. It doesn't surprise you anymore. Nothing about your body surprises you now. The days have structure, but it's loose. Appointments, meals, rest. People tell you what comes next and you follow, because following still feels safer than choosing. You eat regularly now, and the hunger has dulled, but it hasn't disappeared. It waits. It watches. You notice how quickly you eat when you're not paying attention, how your hands still hover over your food until it's gone. You notice how uncomfortable abundance makes you. You notice how relief and guilt sit side by side in your chest. You are asked questions sometimes about where you were, about what happened, about how you're feeling. The questions are careful, but they still feel invasive. You answer in pieces, facts without detail, dates without texture. You find it difficult to explain things that had no language inside the camp. How do you describe the way time stopped meaning anything, the way hunger spoke, the way death became administrative? Words feel thin and insufficient. You stop trying to make them carry the weight. People are kind to you. That is its own kind of shock. They offer help without demanding something in return. They speak to you without watching your hands. They don't flinch when you hesitate. Some of them smile. The first time someone smiles at you unexpectedly, your chest tightens and you look away, unsure what you're being asked to do with it. Kindness feels like a test you don't know how to pass. You walk outside more now. The air still bites in winter, but it doesn't feel personal. The cold no longer feels like an enemy with a plan. You stand sometimes and let it touch your face, just to prove to yourself that cold alone doesn't mean suffering. That realization comes slowly, and it never fully sticks. Crowds unsettle you. Open spaces do too. You prefer edges, corners, walls at your back. You choose seats where you can see entrances without meaning to. You track movement automatically, eyes flicking up every time someone enters a room. It's exhausting, but stopping feels dangerous, like lowering your guard in the forest. Your body learned these habits when they mattered. It hasn't learned yet that they don't. Sleep remains unreliable. Some nights are calm, heavy with dreamless rest. Others pull you back without warning. You wake sweating, heart pounding, the smell of smoke and damp wood vivid in your nose. Sometimes it's the sound of an axe biting into frozen timber. Sometimes it's the silence right after coughing stops. You sit up, gasping, grounding yourself in the present, hands on the bed, feet on the floor, counting breaths until the room settles back into shape. You learn the shape of your fear over time. It's not loud most days. It doesn't scream. It sits low and constant, like pressure behind the eyes. It flares unexpectedly, at raised voices, at sudden movement, at authority spoken too casually. You don't always know why a moment hits you until afterward. Sometimes you never know. You just breathe through it and move on. You try to remember people from the camp. Not all of them, just a few. Faces that stayed with you. The man who hummed. The one who shared a warning without speaking. The one whose coughing stopped in the night. Their faces are already blurring. That hurts in a way you can't explain. Forgetting feels like another kind of loss, but holding on feels impossible. You compromise by remembering sensations instead. The sound of breath, the weight of a blanket, the smell of pine and smoke. You tell yourself that counts. Occasionally, you catch yourself standing still for no reason, body braced, waiting for something that doesn't come. A correction, a command, a consequence. When nothing happens, you feel foolish and relieved at the same time. You are learning slowly that the rules have changed.
You are also learning that knowing this doesn't mean your body believes it. You think about the word survivor and feel disconnected from it. It sounds too clean, too complete. You didn't emerge intact. You didn't overcome anything. You endured. You were released. You were removed. The distinction matters to you, even if it doesn't to others. Some days you feel almost normal. You notice warmth without suspicion. You laugh quietly at something small. You sit without scanning. Those moments feel fragile, like thin ice you don't want to test too hard. You let them exist without examining them too closely. You've learned what happens when you look at things too long. Other days, the camp is everywhere. In the way your shoulders tense, in the way you flinch at hunger even when food is near, in the way silence feels heavier than noise. You understand now that the camp did not stay behind the wire. It folded itself into you, into reflexes and expectations and instincts that once kept you alive. You don't try to erase it. You know better than to fight it head on. You've learned that resistance burns energy you might need later. Instead, you learn to carry it, to notice when it speaks, to decide slowly whether to listen. There is no moment when you feel healed, no clear line you cross where the past loses its grip. There are just days that are easier than others, nights that pass without waking, meals that don't feel urgent, silences that don't demand attention. You measure progress in small, almost invisible ways. One evening, you stand by a window as snow falls softly outside. It reminds you of Siberia for a split second, and your chest tightens automatically. Then you notice something else. The snow is quiet, undisturbed. No lines of men, no shouting, no waiting. Just falling snow, doing what snow does. You watch it for a long time. You think about how close you came to not standing here, about how easily you could have been an empty bunk, a crossed-off number, a body removed so work could continue. The thought doesn't bring triumph. It brings a quiet, sober awareness of chance, of fragility, of how survival often has less to do with strength than timing.
You don't feel grateful in the way people expect. Gratitude feels too simple, too neat. What you feel instead is responsibility, to remember accurately, to live carefully, to notice when comfort dulls awareness without letting awareness harden into fear again. You are asked once gently if you think you'll ever be free of it. The question lingers with you long after it's spoken. Free suggests absence, suggests forgetting, suggests a return to something untouched. You don't think that's possible. The camp changed the shape of your mind. It taught you things you can't unlearn. It carved patterns into you that will always exist, even if they fade. But you don't see that as a sentence anymore. You understand now that survival didn't end when you left the camp. It simply changed form. The struggle is quieter now, slower, less visible. It lives in choices instead of commands, in restraint instead of endurance, in allowing yourself to rest without waiting for permission. You breathe in deeply, feeling air fill your lungs without pain. You breathe out slowly. The breath fogs faintly in the cold air near the window, then disappears. You are here. You carry the Gulag with you, in memories, in reflexes, in the way your body learned to stay alive. It will surface at unexpected times. It will never fully leave. But it no longer owns every moment. And as you turn away from the window and move back into the room, you understand the quiet truth of what survival really became. Not victory, not closure, but the ongoing, deliberate act of living with what happened to you, without letting it be the only thing that defines you. One careful, ordinary moment at a time.